The MMA world is filled with passion, drive, and sometimes delusional moments from its warriors. But who had the most mind-boggling instances of denial or extravagant claims in MMA history? Let's find out. Number 10. BJ Penn's afterthoughts on UFC 137. At the office recently, we debated the most influential UFC lightweight champions and unanimously chose BJ Penn for his undeniable impact. It was during UFC 137 that Penn fought welterweight Nick Diaz, marking Diaz's return to UFC. Pre-fight exchanges were respectful, both recognizing each other's prowess. The ensuing battle saw Diaz outmatch Penn, a first in Penn's career, and led to his talk of retirement. Following the fight, the pair were friendly, sharing the locker room, making Penn's subsequent Twitter comments months later all the more surprising. Penn asserted Diaz's win was down to coward tactics, arguing he would have prevailed had Diaz fought head-on from the start. However, the reality is Diaz outperformed Penn throughout, leaving Penn's belated claims seeming misguided and out of touch with the actual fight. Number 9. The unfulfilled knockout promise. McGregor vs. Mayweather. Prior to their highly anticipated match, Conor McGregor assured fans he'd knock out Floyd Mayweather, even predicting a first-round finish. His optimism rested on perceived advantages in size, reach, and his allegedly underestimated boxing acumen. On August 26, 2017, at Las Vegas's T-Mobile Arena, they faced off in a record-breaking billion-dollar revenue-generating pay-per-view event. The match started closely contested, but Mayweather gradually dominated, landing heavier and more frequent punches. In the 10th round, a series of Mayweather's blows led to a knockdown. Though McGregor rallied to stand, he was visibly weakened, prompting the referee to halt the fight following further hits. Mayweather's triumph by unanimous decision debunked McGregor's knockout claims. Despite his unfulfilled promise, the bout's massive success sparked interest, excitement, and further legitimization of mixed martial arts within the boxing community. Number 8. Rose Namajunas' questionable strategy against Carla Esparza. Despite triumphing over several champions, Rose Namajunas seemed unable to overcome Carla Esparza. At their rematch, Esparza appeared outclassed by Namajunas until the fight commenced. Post the first round, it became apparent that Namajunas' strategy was faltering. The debacle wasn't solely strategic missteps. What stirred controversy was Namajunas and Pat Barry's stubborn defense of their plan on the MMA Hour. Amidst claiming to have found an answer in the 5-round battle, they continued to insist on the flawless execution of their strategy. Their insistence seemed misplaced when reflecting on the defeat, which suggested a clear disconnect between their perceived strategy and its tangible outcome. The inability to accept the plan's failure raised questions, demonstrating a concerning level of delusion surrounding their approach to the fight. Number 6. Nick Diaz's unconventional explanations for defeats. In the intensely demanding realm of MMA, it's normal for fighters to be upset after a loss. For Nick Diaz, it appears he often finds reasons to discount his defeats. This mentality may stem from his warlike approach to the sport, or it might be his resilience in the face of setbacks. Following a controversial loss to Carlos Condit for the interim title, Diaz publicly refused to accept it as a defeat due to Condit's stylistic game plan, which he deemed inconsistent. So enraged by the verdict, he even briefly retired. However, Diaz's most astonishing claim came years after losing a title fight to George St. Pierre. He told TMZ that he believed his IV had been poisoned, leading to excessive sleep. It's hard to conceive why anyone would target Diaz, especially when sleep is something many fighters covet. Diaz's unwillingness to accept defeat, whether justified or not, showcases an intriguing aspect of his fighting persona. Number 5. Ronda Rousey's claims and reality. The greatest of all time? Ronda Rousey, a once dominant force in women's MMA, was on an undefeated streak, with 12 victories by armbar, even defeating the favored Holly Holm in 2015. Her unbroken record and potent armbar technique led her to proclaim herself the greatest of all time, even asserting she would never lose a fight. This aura of invincibility, however, was brutally shattered, renowned for her potent striking. Nunes's 48-second knockout victory revealed a crack in Rousey's armor, signaling she was not unbeatable and that the women's MMA division was swiftly catching up. Although Rousey's claims of being the greatest were evidently premature, her influence within the sport is indisputable. She remains an admired. Number 4. Dillon Danis's unfulfilled callouts and unrealized fights. Dillon Danis, largely unknown in the MMA world till Khabib Nurmagomedov's infamous cage jump, has been conspicuously inactive in the ring since 2019. Despite this, he continuously calls out fighters and sets up fights he never seems to follow through with, often using social media to build a buzz. The crux of Danis's delusion came to light during his interview on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, where he asserted his readiness to fight and claimed he would earn more than any other MMA fighter. His audacious claims lack credibility, since the supposed fight never took place. Danis didn't stop there. He continued his facade by challenging popular figures like KSI and insisting on his popularity in London. His strategy of promoting fights that never happened has left fans skeptical about his serious intent in the MMA world. Number 3. TJ Dillashaw's overconfidence in the face of injury. TJ Dillashaw's relentless competitive spirit is commendable, having pushed him to great heights in MMA. From his early days at Team Alpha Male, where he was known for his combative training style, his tenacity has been a defining characteristic. However, his unyielding self-belief turned out to be a double-edged sword when he entered a title fight against a dominant champion with a severely injured shoulder. Despite the substantial risk, Dillashaw was convinced he could win, a belief bordering on delusion. Even after his defeat, he remained adamant that he was the superior fighter. Coming off an EPO suspension, some felt Dillashaw didn't even merit the title shot, but he seized the opportunity regardless. This narrative wasn't about the money, but about Dillashaw's deeply ingrained self-belief that he could triumph despite the odds. Number 1. Diego Sanchez's persistent title aspirations and questionable coaching choices. Diego Sanchez, once hailed as the ultimate fighter and admired for his undeterred fighting spirit, made some questionable career choices in his twilight years. Despite his well-past prime, Sanchez expressed an unrealistic determination to win the welterweight UFC championship, maintaining his readiness to bleed, sweat, and cry for the goal. His most bewildering decision, however, was to partner with Joshua Fabia, a man lacking MMA experience or noteworthy athletic credentials. Switching from Greg Jackson, one of the best coaches in the sport, to Fabia raised many eyebrows. The training methods, fighting strategies, and even backstage antics under Fabia were often deemed delusional, sparking doubts about the positive impact Fabia could bring to the latter stages of Sanchez's career. It seemed a stretch to believe that Fabia was genuinely aiding Sanchez, rather than exploiting his fading career. We've just explored some of the most delusional moments in MMA history. They remind us that even in the world of combat sports, perception and reality can diverge. But which moment struck